Carl Jung left us an impressive legacy by showing us how the most challenging moments in our lives are, in reality, doorways to profound transformation. Those instances when everything seems to fall apart, when doubts overwhelm us and we feel we've lost our way, are not the end. They are the beginning of something extraordinary. Perhaps it's happened to you. One day you wake up and feel like you no longer fit into your own life. What once excited you now feels empty. The people around you, even the closest ones, no longer inspire you. It's as if a part of you knows something big is about to happen, but you don't know what it is or how to face it. This isn't a coincidence. Jung described it as a call from the unconscious, an internal impulse seeking to pull you out of routine so you can discover who you truly are. The unconscious has curious ways of manifesting itself. It might be through a recurring dream, an inexplicable sense of restlessness, or even unexpected events that seem to conspire to push you in a different direction. These signals are your psyche's way of saying, it's time to change, it's time to wake up. But here's the interesting part. When you ignore these signals, the discomfort grows. Maybe you've felt it before. That sense of being trapped in a life that doesn't feel like yours, in relationships that don't fulfill you, or in a job that doesn't reflect your values. Jung believed this discomfort is the resistance of your true self, fighting to break through to the surface. It's a reminder that you're living according to external expectations rather than from your authenticity. Imagine this. You've spent years walking a path as someone else laid out for you. Perhaps your parents, society, or even your own insecurities marked that trail. But what would happen if you stopped, looked around, and chose a different path? It wouldn't be easy. Jung said facing the unknown can be terrifying, but it's also the only path to wholeness. That fear you feel isn't your enemy, it's your ally. It's the energy you need to step into the unknown, explore your shadows, and discover the immense power within you. Because according to Jung, only by confronting your fears can you transform them into tools for growth. When you dare to look within, something extraordinary happens. You start to realize that everything you need to change your life is already there, waiting to be discovered. It's not about seeking answers outside yourself, but about allowing yourself to hear that inner voice that's always been with you, even if you've ignored it at times. Maybe you're wondering, how do I start this process? Jung taught us that the first step is simple yet profoundly powerful. Recognize your shadows, those parts of yourself you've denied, repressed, or feared, not because they're bad, but because they didn't fit the image you wanted to project to the world. Have you noticed how certain people or situations seem to bring out the worst in you, as if they're pressing a hidden button that triggers intense, sometimes uncontrollable emotions? This isn't random. According to Jung, these experiences are mirrors reflecting your shadows, showing you what you need to integrate to become whole. It's uncomfortable, yes, but also liberating, because when you allow yourself to see and accept those parts of yourself, you stop being a prisoner to your automatic reactions. The most incredible thing is that when you do this, everything around you begins to change. The relationships that once drained you fade away. People who truly inspire you start appearing in your life, as if they'd been waiting for you to be yourself to connect with you. It's as if the universe responds to your decision to live with authenticity. This isn't an instant process. It requires patience, courage, and a deep commitment to yourself. But every small step counts. Every time you choose to listen to your intuition instead of following others' opinions, every time you allow yourself to say no to something that doesn't resonate with you, you're building a life that reflects who you really are. Think about it. How many times have you made decisions based on what others expect of you instead of what you truly desire? How many times have you said yes when you meant no? Those small betrayals of yourself pile up over time, creating a disconnection that affects every aspect of your life. But the good news is, you can always choose differently. You can always return to yourself. Transformation doesn't happen in a single moment. It's a journey, an ongoing process of discovery and growth. And though it can be challenging, it's also profoundly rewarding. Because in the end, what truly matters isn't what you achieve or accumulate, but how you feel about yourself. Are you true to your essence? Do you live from your truth? Carl Jung believed this process doesn't just transform the individual, it transforms their surroundings too. The superficial relationships that once took up space in your life give way to deep, meaningful connections. And here's the most interesting part. Those relationships don't come by chance. Jung spoke of synchronicity, that mysterious way in which events and people align at the exact moment to aid you on your path. Have you ever met someone just when you needed them most, or found an unexpected opportunity right when you were considering a change? Jung didn't see this as coincidence, but as a sign that you're aligned with your purpose. But this alignment doesn't happen when you follow others' expectations. It happens when you listen to your intuition, when you choose the path that truly resonates with you. You might be wondering, how do I know if I'm living from my truth? The answer isn't always obvious, but there are signs. If you feel you constantly need to mold yourself to fit your surroundings, you're likely not being authentic. If there's a persistent sense of dissatisfaction or emptiness, it's your unconscious trying to tell you something. Don't ignore these signals. They're reminders that you're called to something greater, something you can only discover by being yourself. Jung used to say that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And that's what's at stake here. Your right to be authentic, to live a life that not only makes sense, but also fills you with purpose and joy. However, being authentic doesn't mean the path will be easy. There will be moments when you doubt yourself, when you wonder if you're really heading in the right direction. But here's the secret. Those moments aren't setbacks. They're tests, opportunities to reaffirm your commitment to yourself. Because every time you choose your truth over comfort, you take one step closer to the life you truly desire. As you move forward on this journey, it's important to remember you're not alone. Jung taught us that while inner work is deeply personal, we're also connected to something much greater than ourselves. Call it the collective unconscious, the universe, or simply humanity. That connection means that when you transform yourself, you also have the power to transform others. Think about this. Every time you live from your authenticity, you inspire others to do the same. Your actions, however small they seem, create a ripple effect. When you choose to be brave, when you decide to listen to your intuition and follow your purpose, you're showing those around you that they can do it too. And that in itself is an immense gift. That's why you shouldn't underestimate the impact of this process. It's not just a personal change, it's a contribution to the world. Carl Jung often spoke of the importance of individuation, that process of becoming your most complete and authentic self. But what many don't realize is that this isn't a selfish journey. On the contrary, it's an act of service. Because by being who you truly are, you light the way for others. When you start living from your authenticity, something curious happens. The chaos in your life begins to reorganize. The pieces that once seemed out of place find their fit. Relationships restructure, some disappear, others deepen, and new connections come into your life. Not because external circumstances have magically changed, but because you're operating from a different place, from your essence. Carl Jung emphasized that life isn't about avoiding chaos, but about learning to navigate it. That chaos we often fear is a precursor to transformation. It's like fertile soil that needs to be stirred before something new can grow. But for that to happen, you need to trust the process, even when you don't understand everything that's going on. This doesn't mean you should accept everything passively. On the contrary, Jung believed it's in these moments of uncertainty when your participation must be most active. Reflect, question, and seek the hidden lessons in every experience. Because every challenge you face isn't just testing you, it's also revealing parts of yourself you might not have known. Maybe you're dealing with a difficult relationship, an unfulfilling job, or a situation that seems beyond your control. It's easy to think these experiences are obstacles, barriers keeping you from moving forward. But I'd invite you to see them differently, as messages from the unconscious, reminding you that something needs to change. Here's where most people stop, because changing means letting go, and letting go can be terrifying. We're so used to clinging to the familiar, even when it doesn't make us happy, that the idea of releasing it fills us with fear. But here's the power of Jung's approach. When you let go, you're not losing. You're opening space for something new, something better. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you held on to a relationship, a job, or even a routine simply because it was what you knew, even though deep down you knew it wasn't making you happy? That attachment to the familiar is understandable, but it's also what keeps you stuck. Jung reminds us that true freedom comes when you dare to let go of what no longer resonates with you. And yes, that process can be painful. There might be moments of loneliness, doubt, questioning everything you thought you knew about yourself. But that pain isn't permanent. It's the price you pay for freedom, for the chance to build a life that reflects your truth. And most importantly, it's a pain that leads to healing. At this point, you might feel a mix of emotions, curiosity, hope, maybe even a bit of fear. That's normal. You're stepping into unknown territory, a space where the old rules no longer apply, and where you have the power to write your own story. This is the gift of Jung's approach, the chance to be the author of your life instead of a passive character. But remember, you don't have to do it alone. Though this is a deeply personal journey, it's also one that can be enriched by sharing it with others. Seek out people on a similar path who value authenticity and growth as much as you do. These connections will not only support you, but also remind you that you're not alone in this process. As you progress on this journey toward your authenticity, you'll start to notice something surprising. The things that once seemed important begin to fade. Superficial worries, others' opinions, and external expectations lose their power over you. This doesn't mean you stop caring about the world around you. It means you start prioritizing what truly matters. Your energy is no longer scattered on things that don't nourish you, but focused on what brings you to life. Carl Jung described this shift as a return to your center. It's like rediscovering an inner lighthouse that was always there, but had been covered by layers of social conditioning, fears, and limiting beliefs. And when you reconnect with that lighthouse, everything in your life starts to align. Your decisions become clearer, your relationships more authentic, and each day gains a sense of purpose you might not have experienced before. It's worth mentioning that this process doesn't mean you'll stop facing challenges. On the contrary, challenges are an inevitable part of life. But the difference is that now you'll face them from a place of inner strength rather than resistance or fear. Jung used to say, "What you deny submits you, what you accept transforms you." This means that by accepting difficulties as part of the process, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering and open yourself to the lessons they have to offer. Imagine for a moment what your life would be like if you stopped fighting what you can't control. If instead of resisting, you flowed with events and learned to see them as opportunities for growth. This shift in perspective can be radical, but it's one of the greatest lessons Jung left us. Life doesn't happen to you. It happens for you. Everything you experience, even the painful parts, has a purpose if you are willing to see it. Maybe right now you're facing a situation that seems impossible. Perhaps a loss, a conflict, or a phase of uncertainty. But I want you to remember something important. This isn't the end. It's a chapter in your story, and you have the power to decide how it continues. Jung believed transformation doesn't happen when everything is resolved, but when you decide you're ready to grow from what you're experiencing. And here's where one of Jung's most fascinating concepts comes in: the integration of shadows. We all carry within us aspects we've repressed or denied, whether out of fear, shame, or simply because we didn't know how to handle them. But those shadows aren't something to fear. In fact, they're an incredible source of power and wisdom as long as we're willing to face them. When you start working with your shadows, you discover they're not your enemies. They're parts of you that just want to be seen, accepted, and transformed. It's a process that can feel uncomfortable at first, but in the long run, it grants you immense freedom. Because when you integrate your shadows, you become whole, someone who no longer needs to hide or pretend to be something they're not. This doesn't mean you have to do it all at once. Transformation is a gradual process, one step at a time. And each step you take brings you closer to that version of yourself you always knew you could be. You might not see it now, but every small choice you make in this direction has a powerful impact. From how you talk to yourself to the people you choose to surround yourself with, it all adds up. In the end, this process isn't just about changing your life. It's about changing how you experience it. It's about reconnecting with that part of you that knows deep down you're destined for something greater. Not greater in the sense of fame or external success, but greater in the sense of living a life that's true, meaningful, and full of purpose. It's important to understand that the path to your authenticity won't always be understood by others. Often, the people around you won't grasp the changes you're making. They might even try to convince you to stay where you are, in that comfort zone they also know. This doesn't happen because they want to hold you back, but because your transformation might confront their own insecurities. Carl Jung understood this phenomenon deeply. He said that loneliness doesn't come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you. And this is a truth you'll discover on your path. Not everyone will be ready to understand your evolution. But that doesn't mean you should stop. Your journey is yours, and your authenticity doesn't need anyone else's validation. The wonderful thing is that as you move forward, you'll start attracting people who resonate with your new energy. Those forced or superficial connections will dissolve, making room for relationships that are authentic, inspiring, and aligned with your purpose. It's a natural process. By being more yourself, you allow the right people to find you. This is a key principle in Jung's psychology, the idea that our outer world reflects our inner world. When you start aligning your thoughts, emotions, and actions with your truth, everything around you begins to mirror that alignment. It's not magic. It's the deep connection between your consciousness and the universe surrounding you. Maybe you've noticed how certain patterns seem to repeat in your life. Perhaps you always attract the same type of relationships, face the same challenges, or experience the same frustrations. This isn't random. Jung called it the projection of the unconscious. Essentially, what you don't recognize within yourself manifests outside as an opportunity for you to confront it. For example, if you constantly encounter people who seem to devalue you, Jung would suggest this might reflect how you treat yourself, not as a way to blame you, but as an invitation to look closer at those parts of you that need healing. And when you do this inner work, the external pattern shifts because you no longer need to repeat the same lesson. This transformation process isn't linear. There will be days when you feel like you're making giant strides and others when it seems like you're slipping back. That's normal. Jung described it as a dance between light and shadow, between the conscious and the unconscious. The important thing is to keep going, trust the process, and remember that every step counts. Imagine for a moment what your life would be like if you broke free from those repetitive patterns. If instead of feeling trapped by the same stories, you could write a new chapter, one that reflects your truth and purpose. This isn't just possible, it's inevitable if you're willing to do the inner work. And that work doesn't have to be complicated. It can start with something as simple as paying attention to your emotions. Jung believed emotions are the soul's compass, signals guiding us toward what we need to explore. If something makes you uncomfortable, ask yourself why. If something fills you with joy, observe it. These clues are the map leading you to your authenticity. As you follow this path, you'll also notice your relationship with time changes. Things that once seemed urgent lose their weight, while what truly matters starts to take center stage. It's as if, by aligning with yourself, you also align with life's natural rhythm. Everything flows more easily, even the challenges, because now you face them from a place of clarity and confidence. As you keep exploring this journey toward your authenticity, remember that every step counts, no matter how small it seems. Every conscious decision you make toward your truth is an act of courage. It's a reminder that you're here for something greater than just existing. You're here to live, to create, to experience the wholeness that comes from being true to yourself. The message Carl Jung left us is clear. Transformation doesn't happen by ignoring our shadows or trying to be someone we're not. It happens by embracing every part of ourselves, looking inward with honesty, and allowing ourselves to be who we truly are, without masks or pretensions. Now, I want you to think about this. What part of yourself have you been ignoring? What aspects of your life no longer resonate with your true essence? If something in this message made you reflect, it's because your unconscious is already communicating with you, asking you to pay attention, to take action. This is the moment, not tomorrow, not next week, now. And here's the incredible thing. By making this decision to live from your authenticity, you're not just changing your life. You're creating an impact on the world. You're showing others that it's possible to be brave, authentic, and live with purpose. That's the true beauty of this path. It doesn't just transform you. It inspires those around you. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to join this community. A community where we explore these themes, where we support each other on the path to our authenticity. Let me know in the comments what part of this message touched your heart, what you're willing to change to live in alignment with your truth. Your words aren't just important for you, they can also be a light for someone else who needs to hear this message. Plus, if you know someone who could benefit from these reflections, share it. Never underestimate the power of a word or action to transform someone's life. Together, we can bring this message to more people. Create a community where knowledge and personal growth are the norm, not the exception. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming videos. Designed to inspire you, challenge you, and help you create a life full of purpose. Every time you interact with this content, whether by commenting, sharing, or simply liking, you're helping this message reach more people. The world needs more people who live from their authenticity, who dare to be who they truly are. And I'm here to remind you that you can be one of those people. This is your moment to shine, to reclaim your truth, and to live with purpose. Thanks for being here, for listening, and for being part of this journey. See you in the next video, where we'll keep exploring these profound truths Carl Jung left us together. Until then, remember, every change begins with a decision. What will you decide today?